Hi, everybody. Sorry to have missed you seventh period today. Today we're going to talk about the factors that must be addressed to win an election. All right, we're going to skip over the definition of coalition. You can read that to yourself. The first factor that determines the election, and I'm just reading off the screen, is what party someone is. So even though we've already talked about party strength and that parties aren't as strong as they used to be, it's still a way for voters to identify what kind of a candidate they are. So they still use party as a label. When we're talking about voters, Democrats are usually less loyal to their party and less likely to vote. So that means that Democrats might walk into the voting booth and split their ticket. Remember, split ticket voting is when you vote for some Republicans and some Democrats. And also in a campaign, you'd have to work harder to get Democrats to turn out to vote. Republicans are going to be more active in their party, more loyal to their party, so they're more likely to do straight ticket voting. And also they're really good with getting independents to vote for them. All right, I skipped ahead too far. Sorry about that. Another thing that you'd want to do when you're running a campaign is make sure that you're getting the regular people to turn out to vote. So on here we said reawaken party loyalties. You're going to try to energize the base of the party. I put the definition of base below, but basically those are the people that are not wavering. They're going to come and Republicans will vote for a Republican candidate, Democrats will vote for the Democrat. The second factor in an election that's really important is to make sure you're forming a winning coalition. So you can see the three bullets under there, what we're talking about. But a coalition is a group of people that come together to get something done. And so in this case, you always, as a candidate running for election, want to make sure that you get your party base, first of all, because they're the gimme. They're definitely going to vote for you. But you have to make sure they turn out to vote, especially Democrats. And then you're going to try to pull in independents or the undecided voters. So you've got to tailor your campaign speeches to them or your campaign commercials. And you also want to get a wide variety of people to turn out to vote. So for example, Republicans now are trying to appeal to Hispanic voters because that would be a good idea to try to pull them into their coalition so that they can win an election. On this page, you can take a second to look over who we usually say falls into the camp of being a Democratic voter versus a Republican voter. This is all stuff from Unit 2. So you can see that African Americans are usually loyal to the Democratic Party, Jewish and Hispanic as well. And so as someone running for office, you want to think about who could you pull from the other party's coalition and try to get them to vote for you. All right, another factor that's important in elections is what kind of issues you're going to talk about on the campaign trail. It is not usually a good idea to talk about position issues. These are issues where the public's really divided. So right now, some people like Bernie Sanders want to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, whereas other candidates, especially Republicans, think that would be bad for business owners. So you're definitely going to anger part of the population if you're saying that during a debate, talking about minimum wage. But you're also going to get people on your side too. So it's kind of risky. Balance issues, the one on the bottom of the screen, are really safe bet. So these are issues where the public is united. For example, education or like raising women's wages to equal the wage that men earns. There's nobody that's going to be against that. So it's a safe bet to talk about issues like that. Everyone wants to talk about the economy. So again, that's another issue that would be a safe balance issue. Right now we're still talking about issues, but sort of from the perspective of the voters. Something that can really change the outcome of a campaign would be the way that people vote. So there are prospective voters and retrospective voters. Depending on the election, you could be either one of those. Prospective voters are a smaller group of people. They're usually party activists, and they vote based on what they think the candidate will do in the future. So if they think that Bernie Sanders is going to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour and they know that policy that he has, and they might vote for him because of that. But you have to go and educate yourself on the candidate to really be able to do that. Retrospective voters Usually, though, determine an election. Think of retro, think of the 1970s, back in the past. These are people that vote based on what has already been done. So if the economy has tanked while someone was president, you're probably not going to vote for them again. So you're looking at what's happened in the past. That's like being reactive and not proactive, which helps you remember that retrospective. Most people vote retrospectively because they don't know what the candidates are going to do in the future. A non-factor in campaigns is the president's political party. So take a second to look at that graph. What does the graph illustrate? It's talking about seats in the House of Representatives, and that there were times, especially look at 2010, holy moly, Democrats lost 63 seats in the House of Representatives 2 years after President Obama was elected as a Democrat. So what that told the president is that people, the American public, was not really happy with his performance because people in his party lost their seats. Here are the answers to those questions. You guys don't have to write them in. Lucky you. So the president's party loses seats. So this is a non-factor in the election. It used to be, though. It used to be that you could ride the president's coattails, like those old tuxedo jackets. You could ride his coattails, not literally. That would be kind of strange, but into office. So if you were a Democrat and the president's a Democrat, you'd have an easier chance getting elected. We don't see that happening much anymore, and there's evidence of that in this chart. All right, so overall, for an effective campaign, here are the 6 keys to be successful. You got to have a good quality staff. For your project, we're working on the campaign strategy for a candidate. You are the quality staff, or at least you should be quality. You need to, as a candidate, set tone or theme of the campaign. Donald Trump's is Make America Great Again. You need to find a winning coalition. Who are you going to try to get to turn out to vote for you? Number 4, you're going to have to publicize issues. Are you going to focus on those position issues? It's a little risky. Or are you going to focus on balance issues? And then you've got to raise tons of money so you can make campaign commercials. And you can do things like number 6. You can use Twitter, Facebook, and you can even host SNL if you're lucky to do that. We're going to talk about those in our next couple of lessons. So as you go through the rest of these slides, we can kind of skip that one, but I did include a campaign game, and I want you to try to win the election. So I'll have this in Google Classroom for you. See if you can win, and then screenshot a picture of your final outcome to see if you won or not. You'll screenshot it by using the directions that will be in the Google Doc. Control, and at least on a Google Chromebook, those are the directions. You can Google search how to screenshot on the type of computer you have at home. All right, thanks. Peace out.